Good morning. Thank you all for joining. I am Dr. Amiria Newman. I am currently an OSF healthcare pediatrician. I am so honored to be speaking at this year's National Caregiver Conference. Today, I am hoping to bring attention to the increase of screen time amongst children and how it could be harming their behavior and development. In today's society, more than ever, children are turning to screens for educational and personal use. While I am discussing screens, I am referring to the tablets, smartphones, and computers and television. According to Pew Research, 80% of parents say their children from 5 to 11 use and interact with tablets. About 55% of parents with children under 5. In addition, 89% of parents ages 5 to 11 state their child watches YouTube, 81% of ages 3 to 4, and 57% of parents with children under 2. As technology grows, our lives seem to become busier, and many turn to screen time as a tool for distraction or entertainment. Research shows this is negatively affecting our children. Today, I will review the current guidelines that are put in place for children in screen use and how we all may be easily exceeding them. Next, I will discuss the developmental delays that are being recognized amongst today's children. Then, following up with the increase of behavioral issues in school and at home, and how screen use could cause different emotions and feelings, but also leading to lack of sleep. Once I conclude, I will be open to questions and comments. Throughout this speech, I would like for each of you to reflect on the actions noticed by your child. You may realize behaviors or actions that you have not previously considered to be problematic. First, I would like to discuss the current guidelines put in place for children and screen time. In Dr. Magin's recent study, she found that 98% of children from ages 0 to 8 live in a home with a device. Society has turned to a digital universe, and the likelihood of our children not using a device significantly decreases. This becomes concerning as many caregivers are unaware of the negative impact that screen use holds. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, children under 18 months should have no screen time. Children 18 to 24 months should enjoy with a parent, and children ages 2 to 3 should have no more than 1 hour a day. In 2019, it was discovered that 97% of toddlers exceed this guideline. For the older kids, the CDC reported in 2020 that children ages 8 to 10 spend about 6 hours a day in front of the screen, while children 11 to 14 spend about 9 hours a day with a screen. Now, I can imagine this number has increased due to the recent pandemic that has hit us in this past year. This becomes very concerning. Children 2 and under with guidelines of no screen time must be followed. Children are in their most delicate stage of development, especially in the first 5 years, and the overstimulation that screens cause is disrupting this function. Their minds need to be nourished by interacting with others, playing, singing, and moving their bodies. It is important for children as they grow older to follow those guidelines. Though some apps can seem educational, they can oftentimes do more harm than good, while also taking away interaction time between them and the caregiver and the child. The number of developmental and speech delays is increasing, and the connection is continuously leading back to the overgrowing amount of screen time in a child's life. This is important for each one of you to be aware because the effects could hit your child next. Children rely heavily on the back and forth conversations and facial expressions shared between them and their caregivers. This is extremely important to their language development and social interactions. When screens are in play, children are passive listening and only encountering one-way interactions with the screen. Pediatrician and scientist Catherine Birkin did a study on children 6 to 24 months and found that each additional 30 minutes of handheld screen time was linked to 49% increase risk of expressive speech delay. Expressive speech refers to how children use their sounds and words and how they put the words together to communicate. Children learn from the environment around them by watching and imitating the adults. When screen time comes in the mix, it creates a sense of tunnel vision. This means that children is so deeply focused in the screen that they cannot hear and explore the environment around them. If you look at your adult's relationship around you, this is very similar. We are only truly able to focus on one thing at a time, and when something like screen time, it negatively affects the relationships around us. It's the same with our children. This ends up affecting their ability to interact with others, learn how language develops, and affects their ability to learn new things. During my research, I conducted a survey asking parents 10 questions about their children to observe the effects screen time has. I found that half of the parents claim their child has trouble paying attention in school. It becomes troubling to hear as school is such an important aspect of a child's educational development. In addition, it is becoming even more difficult for children as the times of school have changed. During the COVID-19 changes, many schools and students have become all virtual. Because of this, children are spending 8+ hours a day on screen time for school and personal use. In another study, it was found that the increased screen time was associated with poorer performance on developmental screening. The delay in development is increased due to the increased sedentary time while observing screens. When screens are being used, it is less likely that children are playing outside, conducting exercise, or playing with toys like building blocks. I would like for each of you to reflect back on your childhood. What would you do when school was done? For me, it was riding bikes, drawing with chalk, or playing with Play-Doh. But instead, children are watching TV, playing games on their iPad, or playing video games. This not only takes away from the child's experience, it also affects their overall development. When children are encountering more sedentary time, it means less practicing of motor skills like running and walking, which hurts development. Paying more attention to screens and being less active also hurts their sleep schedule, which can lead to behavioral problems inside and outside the home. Behavioral problems within children are often part of their childhood. We all know kids have their moments where frustration and anger are released like many other children or even adults. But the correlation between the screens and behavioral issues is undeniable. Throughout my research, I realized that many problems a child faces this day and age are caused by the introduction of screens. Things like sleep issues, depression, frustration, and addiction are each one of these problems can lead to the differences in our child's everyday behavior. First, the relationship between screen time and nighttime sleep. In a study done on preschool children in China, they found that when children have more than 2 hours of screen time a day, they were more likely to have less sleep duration. In my survey, I found that parents, about half of them, stated that their child have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. In addition, about 85% of parents in that same survey stated that their child uses screen time most commonly in the evening. Screen use close to sleep affects our child in multiple ways. The screen is used to stimulate your child, keeping them aware. The blue light from televisions or tablets is also known to suppress your natural melatonin levels and delay someone's sleepiness. Lastly, your child is also more likely to be tempted to stay up and continue playing with friends or beating a game. Each of these can heavily affect your child's nighttime routine. Like I've stated many times today, just like adults, we encourage you to avoid using your phones in bed. Children are the same. Caregivers are encouraging these screens when it is most convenient, like dinner time or prepping for the following day, but doing so is causing a disservice to your child's sleep. Once sleep is disrupted, behavioral issues are to follow. In the same study done in China, they found that a direct correlation in risk of total difficulties like emotional symptoms, conduct problems, hyperactivity, peer problems, and prosocial problems with less sleep duration. Concluding that more screen time leads to less nighttime sleep and are significantly more likely to have behavioral issues. It is a normal occurrence for our children to be considered grouchy or irritable, but when having lack of sleep, but as caregivers are encouraging those behaviors by encouraging screen time. In addition to lack of sleep affecting a child's behavior, Dr. Catherine Birkin discussed how the developmental delays a child faces from screen time can also impact their behavior. When a child faces these delays, they are unable to fully express themselves, which frustrates them. Children who are commonly dealing with these are more likely to act out and use their bodies or attention-seeking behaviors to communicate with caregivers. These kinds of behaviors are important to be aware of and keep an eye out for. Being able to notice and then react will allow for growth and assistance of your child. Children are not having the ability to express their feelings and conceptualize their words and define their emotions is heartbreaking. This could also lead to long-term depression amongst children. One last thing I would like to touch on is the addictive aspect that screen time holds. I often hear adults, even myself, discuss the addictions that we face with our phones and televisions and computers. But if adults are so easily addicted to this, why do we let our children also be so susceptible to this? Children are just as likely, if not more, to fall into the addictive behaviors on our screens. I think our new age teens are a great example of this. In 2016, a Common Sense media report found that 50% of teens felt addicted to their mobile device, while 59% of parents believed that their children were addicted to these. Overall, each one of our children is the most important thing to us, and doing what is best for them is all of our goals. Because of the increase of technology and screen devices in recent years, I thought it was so important to bring attention to the recent findings of the effects that screen time has on our children. From speech and developmental delays to sleep issues, and then the addition of behavioral problems, I think it is important for caregivers to be more aware. This starts with the official guidelines that many don't know because it's not being discussed. Avoiding screen time at school and in the home as much as possible is how we are going to stop the progressing negative effects that our children are facing. One way we can make this happen is by involving our children in what we do day to day. For example, when dinner is being cooked, involving them and talking them through each item and step with expanding their development and teaching them new things. I understand the hectic lives parents live, and sometimes screen time assists us. If screen time is needed at some point, it is best to remember these things. Co-watch whenever possible. This allows a caregiver to engage and interact with the child and still develop skills. Keep screens away at bedtime and family time. Research the media that's being used wisely. Many times, games advertise as kid friendly but are simply not. The best games for children are open ended games where creativity can be used. And focus on the sleep, health, and movement of your child. These steps can be taken in the classroom of every school and in the living room of every home. We as caregivers need to work together to create the best lives and future for our children, and that begins with us adjusting our lifestyle as society and technology develops. I hope that each one of you takes the tools and information that you have learned today to analyze your children and catch any possible signs of speech development or any other delays before they progress. In addition, please take this information and tell your family and friends to make the change and help save our children. We need the knowledge and support to be spread. I just want to thank all of you for your time today. If anyone has any questions or would like to discuss anything more, please let me know and I would be happy to help. Thank you so much for your time.